2, 1, live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
All right, gentlemen, welcome back to the show, Lost Dollar Business Club. And we've got two shots of Stephen.
Yes. Well, you know, I'm that good looking. You need 2 shots. It's just the way
I thought it was your twin sister. Oh, sorry, brother.
Wow, that hurts me. It hurts me right here in my heart. It hurts right there. So,
but it's worthwhile. We've got that shot for a good reason from another host on the Two Old Farts Entertainment channel. Rusty, the artist, did a beautiful piece of art of these two gentlemen. Take a look at it.
One of us anyway. There we go. I'll get out of the way. So it's called The Creation of David. And The Creation of David is going to be available in our merch store. And you can get it, I guess it's on a jacket, a t-shirt, or a mug. But yeah, Rusty did 4 months of this. It came yesterday. In our Instagram, we have the unveiling. We have it also on our YouTube channel, but the Instagram is funnier because we did some more stuff with it. But you can actually see The Creation of David. And it took him it took him 3 shows over a 4-month period to do this.
So he did it live on the show. He built it live on the show. He did it live
on his show. Yeah, and when we unveil it and the short that we just did on YouTube, you can actually see the number behind, and it shows exactly what shows it were. So you can actually see the creation of it, and you can see everything of it. So that is The Creation of David. A lot of people have been like, where is it? It is finally here in the States. And when you see it in person, it just, all the colors pop and they're very, very vibrant. So
you got to see it in person. So we've got to open the Museum of Stephen. Yes.
I was going to say, we'll have to have a museum. And I'm sure here in Austin, I've been to their Museum of Art. We could hang this there and we would be better than most of the crap they have. So, So anyway, so that was why we had 3 pictures of me, which most people, I'm sure we've scared the little children. So since we've scared the little children, we'll now leave and continue with the show. So all you people on the podcast, you're going to have to watch McCall. You're going to have to see the show. And this week we said we're going to do a giveaway. We said we're going to do a giveaway.
We did say we're doing a giveaway.
So
that's right.
So here's the 3 questions. Here's the 3 questions that we have. This is all about last week's show. Here's the 3 questions. If you answer this, you can win. I guess we can give them a coffee mug or a baseball cap. We have a travel bag. So, you know, the first person that gets the 3 questions right, and I guess we're going to put it in the comment section. Is that what we're doing? Okay. So if you get it right, 3 questions. Number 1, what was the Southern name of the guy last week that we gave? 2,
I know the answer to that.
Right. You sit there and look pretty. And 2, what was the name of his dog?
The dog.
Oh, I know.
Your question.
Okay. And you can't just answer then the dog. That's not
right. That's not the name of the dog. The dog actually has a name, and the gentleman who owns the dog, we actually said his real name, but I want the Southern name that I gave him. And those are the 2 questions. So the first person, I had a third one, but I figured you have to. People have to go listen to the show. Yeah. So if you can whatchamacallit, if you can answer those 2 questions, and you're the first one to answer those 2 questions, then you can win something from the Lost Dollar Business Club, and we will send it out to you, and you can enjoy your coffee or your baseball cap or your travel thing. Yeah. And or your t-shirt, you can pick out the merch that you want. And so the first one wins, and that's that simple. And if nobody wins or nobody puts anything in the comment section, great. Then we'll just do another contest next week. And there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's it. All right. Now that Kurt's here and I've stalled for time.
We did.
Sorry, guys. Emergencies.
He's on a Canadian clock today.
Yeah. Can you hear me
There you
okay?
go. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can
we're
hear
great.
you.
Yeah.
All right,
We can
Mr.
hear you.
Michael, what are we going to talk about today on the Lost Dollar Business Club?
All right, Lost Dollar Business Club has a couple interesting topics as usual. The first of which will be on artificial intelligence training models. Okay, so how do you actually train artificial intelligence, and what's wrong with training AI models on widely available data? There's a lot of controversy about it. We've heard about the strikes in Hollywood, and there's a lot of lawsuits about what data you can and cannot use to train artificial intelligence. So that's a big topic. The second one is Klarna, with their aspirations to be a bank. This is a buy now, pay later company, and one of the most popular ones. Does it ultimately harm the consumer? What do you think about buy now, pay later? It's been around for a while now, very popular in Europe and in the United States. And they have these companies have very big aspirations. So what's going to happen? We don't know yet. Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. All right. We're back.
We're back. Dun, 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 dun.
AI. And before we get into the what AI did David train for your AI videos? How are you doing that? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? You've got the
How are
background.
you making
Yeah.
your porno video,
Yeah, what-
David?
Yeah, no, that's I had to train a lot myself to do that. It involved lots of blue tablets, but I'm not quite sure why they kept
Okay.
using them. But,
So tell them about making an
the-
AI movie, because we have a new AI movie coming out next week. So
You do.
yes. It's it's premiering behind me now. It's only came out of the can this morning. It's called Secret of the Vampire Nun, which is part of the Twins' Blood, which was sort of my obsession really with Gothic novels and vampires. So the two fit very nicely together, and so there's a public for it. Basically, what I have been doing, we spoke about this on another show. I have sort of a skeleton of an idea. That's the best way to put it. And that skeleton idea, I then put that into ChatGPT, and then ask it to write a story for me, a 60-minute story, in the style of, and then it gives me the a reasonable about 80, 90, 95% of what I want comes out the other end. And I've been using a product called Pictionary, or Pictory, something different, Pictory. And I've been cheating a bit with that because it's actually a fantastic tool for doing company videos and presentations, because you can load in all the text. So I load in all the text, and it gives me a range of videos that I can, which the AI thinks is connected to the text.
All right.
They've just enlarged the database. I think they've now done a deal with Getty, I think. So there's lots and lots. There's been another 10 million images or something, and it sort of helps me in the respect that because I'm cheating when I'm using the AI, I'm using their because it gives me a voiceover, it gives me music, it gives me an opportunity to build the scenes, but I add a lot of third-party imagery to make my story flow. So it's a mixture of human input, then ChatGPT 3.5, and Pictory. So that's what we use to make the movies. And was it Power Director, which I used to do the graphics. and then lay the graphics over the leader in and the leader out. So
That's a big deal that they did that deal with. If that deal is with Getty, that's a huge image database for them to have access.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting point to this. And like everyone's on strike in Hollywood, the actors are on strike and the writers are on strike.
Right.
So really the question now boils down to, and I've talked about this before, because Mike Eisner made that beautiful comment, cartoons don't ask for residuals.
Yeah,
so if I'm a writer and I'm not embracing AI, am I behind the 8 ball? And I really wish, and I know they listen to our show, I would love for a writer to come on, even if we have to put them on a black screen, because I really would love to understand. I understand their fear of AI, but I think part of it's also they're not getting paid in the way the structure is on with streaming. They don't get the money. So I understand the money part, but I really would love to know if the writers, what their thoughts are on the AI, because really, yeah, right. Because any idiot, and that we prove it, because look what we do. We put a story in, and ChatGPT 4 goes, okay, I got it from here, and you just keep tweaking it, and you have a story. So no one's sitting there saying, okay, Mary did this, David did it, right? So to me, it's like I would like to understand their feeling on it, and will they use it, or have they been using it? And I also really want to understand the monetary side of the strike. I mean, I know we always talk about it, but I know it's all about streaming, and they're not getting enough of this and enough of that, and I agree with them; they should be paid.
There's probably a
but
fear
I
of being
think
totally boxed out too. It's not just the money, but even being creatively boxed out of not
and
having
the actors. And the actors, I understand their issue. Stephen Fry's agent literally said the other day he had a heart attack because he heard Stephen Fry's voice doing a commercial that they didn't pay Stephen Fry for because it was AI. So you can steal the voice, you can steal the image. So I understand why the actors would be like, "Hey, no."
But I thought that last week, somebody that Kurt said last week about musicians and drum machines has been sort of resonating in my head all week. It's made the drummers better because they can have something that they can continuously refer to. And in many respects, I just put a skeleton in. I'm not a very good writer at all. I have these, all this crap in my head, and being heavily dyslexic doesn't make it any easier. So when I put that into Chat GPT, it enables me to go a step further. And and I think in many respects, I mean, we've had professional journalists on this week. Shazad was on, and he was saying, "No, I didn't like the output." But he's a journalist as opposed to a novelist, and I think, well, maybe if you've got a huge volume of work that you're producing, and you run that through the AI, it may tidy up the grammar for you a bit. It may, it may lighten or darken aspects of your manuscript, which just need changing.
But you speak English, right? You speak English already. You already have a high level of command of the English language. Drummers already had a high language, and drummers had a high level of accuracy and knowledge of their instruments, right? So it was an add-on, right? It allowed them to go a bit further, or actually push them to go a bit further. But there's a big difference between numpties who know nothing and using AI to not even to supplement, but to substitute for knowledge, ability, work, and creativity, and just simply plug into somebody else's. And I think that's where artists kind of get their back up. I'm not one of these people that would revolt against the end of the steam engine in place and putting a diesel engine in place. I'm not one of those. I think things move forward. We have to develop further. We wouldn't be where we are if we stayed with horse and buggy. But having said that, it didn't replace humans.
Right. Yeah, well, and that's to your point. What we have artists like painters on a couple different shows we have on the channel. And what they say, and I agree with them, is like if I go into whatever it's called, Pictionary, Luminary, Master Bestiality, whatever the sites are that create paintings for me, and I say, look what I created. I didn't create anything. I gave it an idea, and I kept saying, like make a panda do this, make a panda, blah, 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 and it gives me that. So really, if I give credit, I give credit to the site, and then I would be like, oh, and I helped. So when we produce an AI movie, our movies say, created by AI old fart, produced by AI old. It's like we give AI credit. We don't say David and Steven did this. It's AI did it. We did nothing. We full stop. We did nothing, right? Like David said.
Well, we just paid for the tools. That's all to do.
Right. We pay the $100 or $200 a month it is, so David has the tools to do it. And granted, the skeleton comes from David's mind because he reads porno comics, and he's like, let's do this, and that's it, right? So it's not where we did anything. Like David goes, I want A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then what I do to write the description is I go to ChatGPT 4, and there's a big difference between 3.5 and 4. Like we said, it's like a high school student and a PhD student, and we say to 4, write this in the style of Edgar Allan Poe. Write this in a Hitchcockian style. Write this in an Orwellian style. And it gives me a description written in that style. And then that description we put on YouTube. So it does everything for us. We do nothing.
Yeah.
We push some buttons. And
you're not stealing. You're not stealing
Now
Orwell.
people are going to be able to train ChatGPT on their own fine-tuned models. So they're making this idea of training an AI model more widespread, which means I could give it the entire corpus of everything I've written over my lifetime and actually see what patterns ChatGPT comes up with to see how it defines my writing style. Now you can put anything you want into that if you have.
But they have the plugins here, by the way. That plugin's here. I get a morning brief every day from what's new in AI, and I saw it and I actually plugged it in. And it will look at all your stuff, look at your count. It'll do everything for you now. And I've used it this morning for a little bit, and I'm like, this is really like weird in a good way. But I'm like, all I need, and I keep saying this, HAL 2001, if they can come up with that one where I can talk to it and I don't have to type anymore. Perfect.
There you go.
But Michael, going back to what you said just a second ago, it started with you, right? It started with your knowledgeability, your basically you were the nucleus, right? It would be very different if I, knowing nothing about what you do, just want to steal your likeness, right? I want to steal your essence, and I just take your I take everything you've written, and with 6 degrees of difference, I put out a book and make twice as much as you.
Right. That's
right.
right.
Well, that's the whole thing about these court cases now. I mean, the guy who did Game of Thrones, he said, well, they've obviously fed the AI data machine with all my books, and so therefore, if you say write something in my style, it will come out. Well, that's great, and that may well have happened, but how the hell are you ever going to prove that in a court of law? I mean,
exactly.
It's just for me, I think, unfortunately, these authors are whistling in the wind because there's no way of knowing. It's like, like Kentucky Fried Chicken's secret ingredient, isn't it? We're never going to know really what goes in it. We just know what comes out the other end.
I don't think you want to know what goes into Kentucky Fried Chicken's secret ingredient. Yeah, I don't think you want to know. You won't eat it. So.
Allegedly.
It is an AI.
Not one of our sponsors. Yeah,
that's not one of our sponsors. So, too, you're a sponsor. So.
But a really good example of kind of that AI model and human model. If you date ourselves, go back a little bit. Madonna's "Living in the Material World," right? What made that different from every other album of its time? You had on one side, you had people that were plugging stuff into drum machines, and it sounded incredibly sterile, right? And Madonna came out with "Living in the Material World," and the drums sound like kind of like all the stuff that was kind of coming out at that time. You have that mechanical side, but there was something that grooved incredibly well, and its name was Jonathan Moffat. This guy had such an incredible sense of time. And so basically he said, okay, just take the drum stuff drum machine stuff that you're thinking, plug it into my headphones, right? And so they just start the click track. He starts playing, right? He's on like literally like all over this beat, but at the same time, it's Jonathan Moffat with that serious groove, and it's got all that sweet, hard, computerized, nail it down on the one. but at the same time it grows like crazy. So it's still the artist, it's still that drummer to this day. Michael Jackson, Madonna, you name it, it's Jonathan Moffat, right? You can't train AI to do that because it could never make all the variations that he can as a human. But what they're trying to do now is steal Jonathan Moffat. We don't need you, Jonathan.
Well, doesn't that raise the bar though for everyone? If the artists who are already creating use AI to be better, and the people who want to create are using AI to, yes, write in the style of other people, based on models that are trained on everything that's publicly available for the most part. I mean, it seems like it's all public data. Then doesn't that just raise the bar for everybody and just create excellence all over the place?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because if you listen to a lot of stuff today, listen to how similar it all sounds. Like, it's not even like it's in the same genre. It's the same song, like played over and over and over again, right? Because they're becoming lazier and lazier.
But what I do when I was saying about in the style,
okay, one at a time.
I choose authors like Bram Stoker, H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe. They're all dead. And you know, so and a lot.
They are?
Yeah, I know it's a shock, and for the kids it is. But so yeah, I'm trying to not to say to it, I'll write it in the style of somebody who's currently living, because that's maybe I just be slightly ethical with it, but really, I mean, these authors are just bitching about the fact that somebody's trying to steal their lunch. Yeah. But you know, question is, whose lunch is it? Whose lunch was it in the first place?
But what we're talking about is the difference between influence and theft, right? There's nothing wrong with being heavily influenced by something and using something to influence something else, but you're influencing something which has a beginning point and it started with you. There's a big difference when you're literally just taking a complete rip. Like if you were to change Edgar Allan Poe's, if you were to just take the title out, change the title, put your name underneath it, it's still Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, that's not how the AI models are trained. They're trained on an entire huge body of knowledge from everything that's publicly available, and then you're deriving works from that model. So
what happens? Like if you write you develop an app called ABC, and then you use the same code and ask ChatGPT to change it just a little bit, and we bring out a new app called EFC. Who owns that?
Well, code is an interesting question, because a lot of the code, it is a different thing, because the code that GPT was trained on, and things like Copilot Microsoft's Copilot is even Microsoft's Copilot is even being discussed, is that the code that it was trained on was open source code that had specific terms and conditions that needed to travel with the code that it was being trained on. And because GPT and AI just strips away the disclaimers and strips away the licenses, that it can't really be used, theoretically shouldn't or can't really be used to work on derivative works, which would be whatever the AI creates. It's a little bit different because these code bases come with a license that specifically says you have to say something, you have to continue this license, and GPT and AI kind of strips away the license.
Does not a book do that as well? Does not a book say it's copyrighted when I open it up?
Well, that's the big,
or it's on the album cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with artists, is the software reading? Is the software reading the book like a human read the book, just at a bigger scale?
So there's a very interesting, I want to say cartoon, but there's a very interesting article in the FT, which is almost like a cartoon, and it shows you how they train AI and how it derives when you ask it to do something, how they trained it with its 8 trillion words and whatever. So and I know there's a YouTube video out as well. So if you're curious on how it works, it's fascinating, because they say the dog is, and they leave it blank. And then it goes out and searches the web on the responses. And it could be the dog is white, it could be black, it could be boy, girl, whatever it is. and then it starts to hone in on that. So when you ask AI to do something for you, what it does is it's taking this learning experience, which takes hours and hours and hours, and it says, this is what I think is the best for what you're asking. That's why sometimes you have to go back to say to AI, that's not what I want. Can you tweak it this way? And it's like, oh, okay. So now it's learned something new. So there's a fascinating thing in the FT, and there's a fascinating video somewhere online that I saw a couple of weeks ago, and it gives you a very good understanding of how they're training ChatGPT today. Tomorrow it'll be different, I'm sure. And to Kurt's point about musicians, the only group that plagiarizes themselves with a beat day in and day out is AC/DC. Every song that they sing and every beat you hear is the same. There's any, just close your eyes and listen to it. It is the same song. And then the only thing doesn't, Back in Black, Highway to Hell, it literally, it does, you could just, they're like, oh, we have one beat, we know the one beat, let us write some words to it. So in that respect, and the only other thing which is fascinating, which is great for them, the only other thing that I found fascinating, and this guy was on Merv Griffin, no one knows who he is because, you know, no one's of that age, was John Williams, the composer. He had the theme, and you know where I'm going with this, I think, Kurt.
Absolutely.
He has the theme from Jaws, and Merv Griffin goes that, and he wrote the theme for Star Wars, and he says, yeah, you know how I wrote that? And Merv was like, no, he takes the theme from Jaws, turned it upside down, and that is the theme for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Which is perfectly fine. I mean, and it goes back,
it's his.
You know, it's the same. It's his, right? He created it.
Yeah.
It started with him. And outside of the legal aspects of copyright, when it comes to art, it's almost like an underlying gentleman's agreement that you won't steal from me, right? Among artists, like a direct steal. I don't mind if you're influenced by me, and I don't mind if you mention my name, but don't steal my life's work.
Right.
And this is where AI, where people having a problem with it, is you don't have that gentleman's agreement, and that has existed since the beginning of art.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, there's no more gentlemen either. If you think about it, there's only a handful of us. That's like labels. You shake your labels aren't gentleman agreements. We're doing something now on a label, and I saw the contract. It's like 17,000 pages long about you need this mechanical, you need this. If you do this, you get this. If you do this, you do this. If you do that, you need that. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Seriously? Yeah. It's like there's so, and I joked around to someone. I said, this is the business to be in. Because if you do A, there's B, C, and D that need to be taken care of. But if I do A and you're the artist, I have you take care of B, C, and D. So it is very interesting. And the public in general, I don't think understands what it really takes to, whether it's produce an album, make a movie, write a book, and all the legal mumbo jumbo and all the copyright laws and all the protection and all that goes behind it. You know, they pick up a book and you're like, oh, it's a good book. You know, you see a movie, go, that's a good movie. You see a song or a video, you don't realize that there's 50 law firms, a record label, or that are all doing something. Yes. So when, like, going back to the strike, when these guys are on strike, I'm like, I get it. It's just that the public doesn't get it. The public looks at it and goes, what are you worried about? You know, and I think that's, and they should be worried.
And the reason why a lot of these actors and so on are so upset is because a lot of the stuff you're just talking about, Stephen, is to protect the houses and to protect the labels, right?
Correct.
And so they're going when they see this AI stuff coming along, because they're covered up to the yin yang with all of the legal mumbo jumbo protecting them if they stick AI behind it. And the artist on the front end is the one who's getting screwed.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that this is their livelihood. And it's like, bye-bye livelihood, right? Yeah. They are a necessary part of our social fabric, is that creativity. You take that away and you replace it by machines. Good luck.
This is why it's a bigger debate than just copyright law. It's got to be a social discussion. So
yes, absolutely.
And listen, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with AI doing things, and I'm okay. Like I said, when we produce an AI movie or short on our channel, I'm okay with that because I know we don't take credit for it. We're full stop we give AI credit for everything. So if I'm a Hollywood producer and AI helps it, somewhere in the credits should say, we'll use Tom Cruise, like, Mission Impossible 273, directed by, written by Tom Cruise, yada yada yada. Oh, and AI did this. But when CGI came out, I don't remember the carpenters and the painters and the set builders going on strike. Right? It was like they put up a green screen, and then some computer geek goes typey 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 typey, and it's like, look, I have a whole city. I didn't hear anybody get upset about that. So we're very selective, in my opinion, what we get upset about, because the writers are like, how do I make a living? And the actors are, how do I make a living? Well, only like 3% of you make a living, so let's put that aside. The rest of you are waiters or you have other jobs, and nothing wrong with that. But a set builder who works on a lot, well, I'm sure when CGI came out, some of them lost their jobs, and they probably had to go and get construction jobs or whatever, right? Or be a painter somewhere else. And they might have been at a studio for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So, we're all hullabaloo about that. Well, what about these guys? You know what I'm saying? It's just, so let's, as we progress as a society, people lose gigs. And we won't go into the Detroit thing that's going on right now, because that's a whole nother show. But, this is what's going to happen. This is the evolution. There are some jobs you're always going to need to press the flesh. And there's going to be other jobs. No, your AI is going to do it. You just have to give credit where credit is due. Like if I paint a masterpiece and everybody goes, that is wonderful. Great. AI did it. I just gave it an idea. Like we talked about the creation of David. We have 3 shows where Rusty painted it live. No AI, right? So we know what it is. But I think that's kind of where we're heading. I think we're going to have a delineation of human did this, AI did this.
Yeah,
and I think that's where we're heading.
It could be. It's quite black and white, isn't it? I think if you, if it's AI, you have to say it. It's the same as if you buy food, and it's got arsenic in it, you have to put it on the label. It's got arsenic.
No, don't do that, because they don't do that now, and that's part of Kentucky Fried Chicken's, I think, thing. No, I'm just
or Oreos. I thought, but there you go. Allegedly,
no.
It's
So I
think if people do that, then I think a lot of the dust will settle a lot quicker. I think if people own up to it,
be honest about it. Yeah.
No, everybody's saying, "Hey,
there's
look."
There's going to be a lot of people who aren't, though. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't.
And like I say, what are we willing to give up? That thing that grabs you in the heart when you hear a song that you listened to when you were a kid. Are you willing to give up that connection? Because that's what's going to happen. AI cannot recreate human moments. They are yours. They're personal. When you put them down on wax, or you put them down in a movie and you capture it, and you get an actor who in that very second connects with something from their past and they deliver it, you can't recreate that. It's not algorithmic. It is just a thing.
There's
right?
No AI that's going to be yelling Stella. There's no AI that's going to be like, Stella, Stella.
I'm still a bit concerned about the fact that the Carpenters were no longer making music after CGI came in. But there you go.
Okay, and with that, Karen Carpenter, sure. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we go through this every day. Yeah, and half the people don't know who the Carpenters were, my friend. They're like, Carpenters made music?
They had to go home, Stephen. That's what they was. So they had to go home and make music. Sweet music.
I remember the Carpenters. Karen and Peter Carpenter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were great. I love their music.
But they used to work on the lot in Hollywood, but they had to go home.
I'm sure they did, yes.
Let's
go into buy here, pay. Let's do a quick switch over. Thank you very little. To buy here, pay here.
Buy here, pay here. Yeah, buy now, pay later. You should buy here. You should buy here, pay here. But people are not doing that. People are actually buying now and paying over, 4 to 6 payments over the next several weeks. And the issue being that a lot of people are just getting into a debt cycle. This is some of the negatives of it, is people get into a debt cycle where they're using other debt to pay off the Klarna payments or the buy now, pay later payments. And does it encourage bad habits of people not saving? And I mean, these are some of the philosophical questions that appeared in the article I shared with you, because it's Klarna is trying to be this global bank. They're using affiliate marketing now to reach to grow its customer base, and consumers, are they aware of what they're getting themselves into? So I don't know if that's the case.
Well,
isn't it
consumers
just like buying?
It's dumb. So,
Isn't that just the same as buying it on a credit card? You know, I don't see the difference.
Yes and no, because what happens is when I buy something online now, it gives me this thing. Would you like to spread it over 4 payments? We don't charge you interest. Whatever, like buy something for $100. It's like we'll say it's $33.33 for the next umpteen months. And you're like, oh, I mean, I don't do that, but I'm looking at it and go, well, that's interesting. So the problem is that we've become a society of glutton, and we all want to keep up with the Joneses, and so it's on. Right. And so the thing is, instead of saving up for it, it's like, let's do this. The other problem is it's like when we wanted something back in the day, you would save for it and then you would buy it. Now it's like, you don't have to save for it. I want a $50,000 watch. Oh, the payments are only $1,000 a month. Okay. But then next week I want something for 10,000 and my payments. So by the time, 2 months goes by, my payments are like 10 grand a month for these items that I probably don't really need. I mean, that's the extreme, but that's kind of where this goes.
Well, and there's also the other side of it is the producers, the sellers, the merchants are actually shifting their models to say, well, I can sell you a more expensive watch if I give you this option to use Klarna. And so now I'll just bump up the prices for all these products because now I know that you're going to squeeze yourself to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they don't take the hit because they pay a small fee to Klarna themselves.
So the merchants pay. Yeah, that's a good thing to explain, David. Yeah, the merchants pay a fee to Klarna, but if the consumer doesn't pay Klarna on time, the fees are exorbitant.
Mm-hmm.
The fees are
to the user.
high.
To the user, they
to the user. Yeah.
The penalties. I mean, those are essentially penalties.
Yeah,
nothing's changed.
No, exactly.
It's like a payday check thing or your credit card bill. And that's why I get a kick out of the credit card companies. If you ever read your credit card thing, it says, if you don't pay your bill, we're going to charge you this interest, da da da. And I'm like, there's a thing called usury laws. Like if you on loans, but on credit cards, there's no usury law. Like if you're dumb enough to sign the piece of paper, that it is what it is. So, and it's sort of like the same day pay loan stuff, it's like if you miss your payment on a Monday, on Tuesday, your payment was $25. Now it's like $275. So that's why people complain that they can never get pay down their, their loans. It's the same thing. We're just really trying to get people into hawk, and it's kind of like, okay,
that's the problem. I mean, I think that's the problem.
More hawk, I think, because we're all, if you have have a mortgage, you're already in a hawk, so it's just
mortgage is okay because in theory, I end up with something when my mortgage is done, right? I end up with my dwelling.
Something.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, whether it goes up or down, the markets, the world. I'm okay with it. I end up with something, but buying a watch or a stereo or this or that, something you don't really need, that's different. I still end up with it, but am I really going to put myself in jeopardy? Because it's not essential.
That's a really great point. That's a really great point. And going back to something you said a moment ago, Stephen, maybe everybody can kind of try to do this over the week. I listened really closely to a lot of commercials, especially when I'm listening to the radio when I'm driving. And one of the things that I noticed, they were companies that were kind of, whether it was for new cars or watches or stereos or whatever, or TVs, they were talking, about having the man and the woman on there, kind of bantering back and forth, and I wanted this, I wanted that, and then the tagline at the end, in most cases, it says, "Get the things that you really deserve." Deserve? Yeah.
Deserve,
how do you define deserve?
Right.
Do you deserve a Mercedes over?
No, you deserve debt.
Well, this is.
You know what I mean?
You deserve debt and lots of
it. But it's that entitled mentality that people are walking into it with that makes you take a high APR loan over something you could truly afford, which is, you had $4,000 in your bank. You should have just taken that $4,000 and got what could get you to work. You know what I mean? As opposed to taking $40,000 worth of debt because, you could pay it $400 a month for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's interesting.
In the 50s and 60s, it was all hire purchase, where people after the war, certainly the austerity of the 50s, they were buying furniture on the Never Never. as they used to call it in the UK, or on the knock, as my grandmother used to say, because every weekend the guy'd come around, knock on the door, and come and get his payment. There's same guy who would come around the next day because he'd be doing the lottery, the football pools, and or one of the catalog magazines, which you'd buy a bra and take you 20 years to pay off.
That's a hell of a bra if it takes 20 years to pay off. Well, two things. One, this has been fascinating. Two, don't forget the giveaway. And three, we're about to go into the lost and found. So
that's right.
Because it's about that time, boys and girls. So everybody, thank you for watching and listening. And don't forget to subscribe and like. For the people that are on the Lost Dollar Business Club, this is just going to go right into Lost and Found. And then the people for Lost and Found, they're just screwed. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, that's it. David, you want to take us to Lost and Found?
We would. So who's lost a dollar this week? And who's found a dollar this week?
And here we are, lost in. I love this segment. All right, I'm going to go first, and then David, of course, has to go. David has to go last because he's going to have some crazy fakakta thing. So David left.
And David left.
I didn't take him out. David took himself out.
Okay,
there he is. You're back, David. Congratulations.
We didn't want to
yourself out. You didn't want to be part of it. Yeah. So this is a law. Okay, David's gone. So no music. The loss today is that Isaacson wrote the book about Elon Musk, and all I can say is, who cares? That's it. That's my loss. It's what a waste of time. Loss. Who gives a shit? Yeah, who gives a shit that this guy about anything Elon Musk has to say? I'm sorry. Yeah,
billionaire class. We don't want to hear him. We don't want to hear him.
I don't mind a billionaire class. I just don't give a shit about this guy. I really don't. I don't know why we wrote a book about him. He's done nothing, in my opinion. I mean, granted, he plays with spaceships. He thinks he's Tony Stark. Nothing. I could care less that we have a book about Elon Musk. I think that's a loss.
All right.
So, there you go. Sorry, Isaac. Unless you come on the show, then I'm going to love the book. I'll read it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, let's
Kurt, Michael.
All right. So yeah,
stop touching buttons.
He's always touching buttons.
He touches himself. So.
My lost and found is definitely a loss, at least as far as I can tell at this point, which is the iPhone 15. All right, so look, a lot of gamers are saying it's amazing that the phone now can act like a gaming console because it's the graphics chip in it is so powerful, the camera in it is so dynamic, so many megapixels or gigapixels, I guess at this point. But the thing is that really the best innovation that can come out of Apple? I mean, am I just being too critical or expecting them to do too much? I just feel like an upgrade to the video platform of it is not that big of a deal. But
it is because then they get all the stupid people to buy 10,000 phones because it's like, look, I got the latest thing. Like my last iPhone lasted 4 years before I bought. I think I have 13. I was like, I'm not buying a new one. So when mine dies, when the email doesn't work or this doesn't work anymore, and I go there 5 years later, I'm like, I want a new one. Then I go get it. But if people are stupid, they say I have to have the latest and greatest. Great, go spend. It's $1,500 in price for a new iPhone. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's made out of titanium now. It's made out of titanium.
Oh, wow.
So is that
$1,500?
Is that a lost or a found?
That's a loss.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
All right, Kurt. What do you got for us?
Well, there's a company called Meltwater, and you probably know it, Michael. And they're launching their AI ethical principles. It's to guide the company's innovation and their commitment to it. So I'm going to actually read this off some of their principles because I think it kind of leans back to what we were talking about. So number one principle is has to benefit society wherever opportunities arise, inconclusively and sustainable ways. Bias, injuries, or defects, safety, privacy, and security are as first-class citizens. Trace everything to be accountable. Transparency is key. Another one is we are scientists and engineers. Everything must be proven and tested. And lastly, use open source whenever possible. Vet everything else and assume it is unsafe. I think it's a great place to for a company. I think that's a great initiative. I think more companies and governments and so on need to take this approach to heart.
Having principles, having principles.
Having principles, that's not happening. And Meltwater, I like everything that Kurt just read. But now you're in America's eyes, you're communist bastards. So, because you have principles and standards, and God forbid that you're not part of capitalism. You can't have that. That's just crazy that you have principles, you crazy bastards. All right. I'm buckled in. I've had my scotch this morning. Go on, David. What are we doing today? What flying pig or cow is coming out of Touchland?
No, but this is a serious show, as we all know. So I'll start it off with I'm not. Thank you, Kurt. I'll start it off with I'm not quite sure what the hell this is, and then I'll go on to something which is definitely has a plus or minus. The first one, which made me just seriously laugh, that they locked up an entrepreneur here in Holland because he attacked the official receiver, who came round to give him to sort out his bankruptcy. He attacked him with a fire extinguisher, and because he was so pissed off about the way that the official receiver wanted to deal with him. And so the police had to take him away, and he said, well, yeah, I'm sorry about the fire extinguisher. It's very unfortunate that this thing turned out this way. They asked the official receiver what's happening next, and he said, well, I think I'm going to carry on representing this guy because at least I know what I have to deal with. So there you go. So I thought that was
all right. So who's crazier, the guy on the receiving end?
Both of them. They deserve each other. They deserve each other.
Exactly. And finally, then GoFundMe.
GoFund you.
Thank you.
GoFundMe
has now have to do a major refund to donations to a poker player who admitted at the end of the day that he was lying about the cancer treatment that he was having. He asked people to pay for his seat at the table at the World Poker Series in Las Vegas. Registration fee was $10,000. I think quite a lot of people jumped in. And he told everyone that he was a 37-year-old man. He had terminal cancer, and he wanted to participate in this tournament as his dying wish. And of course, it all turned out to be a bit of a lie.
Surprise, surprise! The guy makes a living by bluffing. You're an idiot. Like, really?
And you see, now if he would have lived by Meltwater's AI ethics, we wouldn't have had this problem. So there you go.
So GoFundMe has to give the money back. So for them, it's
a loss.
Yeah, bit of a loss.
On a positive note, we're doing a giveaway for you people that are just watching Lost and Found. You have to go watch actually the beginning of the Lost Dollar Business Club, answer the questions from last week's show, and you can choose between a coffee mug, or we have a doggy bowl for the doggy lovers, or a bag, I guess a travel bag. So there you go. Yeah, so you can get you can have merch, and for the people that want merch, go to our store and you can buy some Lost Dollar Business Club merch. At some point, we're all going to work the Lost Dollar Business Club merch. We just came out with that. So there you go. Well, guys, it's been a thrill. Audience, don't forget to subscribe and like. We'll see everybody next Saturday morning. Well, this is Lost Dollar. So Lost Dollar, or Lost and Found comes out Friday afternoon, but the Lost Dollar Business Club every Saturday. We'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a great week. Don't forget to like. It helps the channel. Leave some comments. Cheers, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye. Till next week.
Bye.